Welcome to your personal advanced human design reading. In this reading, I'm going to be going into the software of who you are, the genetic coding of who you are, and really who you came here to be, to help you discover your true potential. And I'm going to be getting into some pretty advanced aspects of your human design chart, and I'm going to condense a lot into this hour, which is why I recommend listening to this several times, because there's going to be a lot of information that's completely specific to you, and there may just be things that you miss the first time through, and things that you hear and understand more deeply upon repeated listens. So as we dive into the more complex aspects of your chart, just keep in mind that just by living by your strategy and authority, and for you prioritizing rest and self-care and giving yourself some time away from the energy fields of others, the gifts and the energy specifically encoded into you will start to awaken on their own. And I'm going to be getting into what I sense as being the most important and valuable aspects of your chart for you to begin to explore at this time. But just know there's a ton of information contained within your chart that I could never cover in an hour's time. And I really encourage you, even while listening now, to really drop into your body. Maybe take a couple of conscious breaths and allow this information to be planted like seeds into your body and your energy field. And do your best to keep your mind out of the process, because knowing your circuitry and your design is really interesting to the mind, but allowing the mind to dominate this discovery process can actually slow down the process of you awakening to your true potential. Because this reading is not for your mind. This is for the parts of you that are deeper and beyond your mind. So I just encourage you to, as you listen, continue to redirect your energy out of your head and into your body, and just trust that the gifts that have been embedded in you are awakening and will continue to awaken on their own, really, if you just follow your strategy and authority. All right, so today's date is November 7th, and you just had your birthday a few days ago, November 4th, 1990, at 12:46 a.m. in Fountain Valley, California. And you are a 5/1 self-projected projector. And just getting a feel for your chart, I mean, obviously you have a ton of openness, and something that is pretty immediately apparent is that you really are here to, in some way, step into a role of service. And this is for a few different reasons. You're 5/1. You also have the gate 38, the gate of the fighter. And your top gates are really about empowering the collective. I feel like that is one of the major themes that I have seen, is really being a leader by leading people into their own power and into their own alignment and truth. So it seems like you're pretty on track and in alignment yourself with the work that you're doing with the projector movement. It seems just right in line with what seems to be your mission here. And because you have 7 of your 9 centers open, these are areas that you likely have taken in some conditioning. You as a projector, and also as being such an open projector, have likely encountered more conditioning energy throughout your life. So one of the best ways to start to undo that conditioning energy is to follow your strategy and authority, which I'm going to get into, and spend time alone, spend time in nature. And for you also, I'm going to bring this up a few times, but I think making journaling a part of your practice, I think could be really huge and potentially pretty transformational. But we'll get into that in a second. All right, so you are a projector, and obviously you have a pretty good understanding of what that means, but I'm just going to give you my take on it. So I won't go into too much detail, but I think it's good to cover some basics and mechanics and just remind you about the roles that projectors are here to play as we enter this new era of awakening. So the fact that you have an open sacral, which is the center, the second down in the middle on your body graph, and you have no motors connected to your throat, makes you a projector. And projectors have a focused and absorbing aura that gives you deep access into the energetic circuitry of other people. But this aura kind of works like a two-way channel. You penetrate the auric field of others, one being at a time, and gain understanding of who other people are in a way that's often deeper than their own understanding of themselves. You can see what's working in their lives, what's not, how they're feeling, what they're afraid of. But this aura of yours leaves you pretty exposed in a way that makes you potentially conditioned by the energies you're sampling, that you're taking in through your open centers. Projectors are the most susceptible to conditioning, which is basically just energies that we absorb through our open centers from people in our lives and from society as a whole, that the mind then turns into limiting beliefs and behavior patterns that cause us to stray from our individuality and our uniqueness and our authenticity, and make us fall out of touch with our purpose and our path of evolution. And this is a process that has been happening your whole life. So becoming aware that you're a projector can be really liberating and validating and empowering, because it allows you to take steps to protect your openness and start to undo this process of conditioning that likely started when you were very young. So as I mentioned earlier, time alone, time in nature, journaling, meditation, yoga, things that seem like, wouldn't that be good for everybody to do? Yes, but those things are especially good for projectors, especially super open projectors like you, so you can reestablish your connection with your true self. And in the new era, projectors are here to be leaders, to be administrators and guides, and are here to be recognized and to succeed through the sharing of their unique gifts that more than likely are here to be shared in a way that benefits the collective. But it really seems that projectors usually find success through a path of service that often includes empowering and guiding others into their own success and their own actualization. So just a reminder, human design is an experiment, and the only key ingredients required to participate in this experiment of living your design are your strategy and authority. Knowing and living by your strategy and authority is perhaps the best way that you can be in a flow and in sync with life, where you don't meet resistance. So you can live with trust instead of fear, and you can live in the present moment, in your body, instead of where most people live, which is in their mind. And the gifts encoded into you through this process of just living by your strategy and authority start to activate and elevate on their own. And this is why I make such a big point about keeping the mind out of this reading, because the gifts fully blossom through an automatic process when you are living as your authentic self, which is what strategy and authority puts you in touch with. So I look at a lot of a human design reading as kind of a place to orient your intentions towards. So we can start with strategy, which is how you are meant to interact with life experience and opportunity. It's how opportunities are meant to arrive into your life, and the road on which you will meet the least amount of resistance. So your strategy as a projector is to wait for the invitation, which is really an extremely receptive way of living. It's very counter to how most people think modern life is meant to be lived. So this often means withholding your insight and your advice, even if it's dead on and you feel like it could really help somebody, withholding it until you've been asked to share it. And projectors also have to, walk a pretty fine line in business ventures and really sense into when it's time to do things like heavily promote or market themselves and really try to put their name out there. There is a time for that, but it's usually going to come from a signal that life gives you. Some kind of tap on the shoulder, some kind of invitation. And projectors are really more than any other type here to trust in the unfolding of life and to use the time in between invitations to really hone and deepen your understanding and your knowledge in your field of expertise, especially you, Andre, as a 5-1. And then your aura will become magnetized in a way that will send opportunities and invitations your way. And it also ensures that you're truly ready for whatever invitation ends up being right for you. And it's because it's important to remember that not every invitation that comes your way will be right for you, especially as a 5-1. So you determine which invitations and opportunities presented are in alignment and which are not by really developing your relationship with your authority, which is the other key ingredient to the experiment of living your design. So your authority is a really unique one. It's called self-projected authority. And authority is basically your decision-making tool, or I kind of look at it as a compass or a GPS system that you can always trust is guiding you towards your truth and your evolution and your purpose. And again, I know you know what this means, but a huge part of the development of this authority, in your case, is really establishing a relationship with your truth. And because of your openness, because of the conditioning that you likely have experienced, this kind of takes some time to reclaim. It's more than any other authority, yours means establishing a line of communication between your heart, you could say your soul, and your voice. And the way that you're here to make decisions is actually to speak your truth, to talk it out in an environment that feels really good to you, either alone, into a recorder perhaps, or by using someone that you trust as a sounding board. So it's not so they can weigh in and offer advice, but it's actually so you can give yourself an opportunity to hear yourself speak about whatever it is that you need to decide on. And you can ask yourself questions like, is this what I want? Is this my truth? Is this leading to my fulfillment and evolution? And you really need to stay totally present in your body and be conscious of your breathing for this to totally work, because it's really easy for the mind to start to sneak in and hijack your train of thought. And something that I suggest for you, especially as a self-projected projector, is the practice of journaling, especially the practice of morning pages, which is if you've never heard of the practice of morning pages, it's a technique that was developed in the book The Artist's Way by Julie Cameron. It's basically just starting each day writing for 3 pages straight as a stream of consciousness without stopping. And it really is just an emotional and a psychological purge that just clears out conditioning gunk that's inside of you that is not yours, that you picked up and is interfering with you feeling your authenticity, your truth. I find that it really makes me lighter, and I'm able to have more flow in my days. And I just feel like I have more gaps in my thinking, and it kind of just puts me in touch with what actually matters. So especially as a self-projected projector, where your life's work will be connecting to your inner truth, I feel like this is an incredibly valuable tool for you, especially since you have open head and ajna center and a totally open solar plexus. I feel like this would be super good for you. And now we can talk about your 5-1 profile type, which is known as the Heretic Investigator. So in Human Design, there are 12 unique profile types, and knowing yours can kind of help you understand how you're here to interact with others and how you're here to live out your purpose. And the founder of Human Design, Ra, described profile as the costume of your purpose, which I quite like. And he also said it's a costume that you often need to grow into. So I'm a 5-1 as well. So I feel like I get this one pretty well. We really came here to sort out karma in this life. And so we often feel like we're here with a mission to help the world do things differently or better, sometimes on a pretty huge scale. And really, we actually have the power to make an impact on people, even people we've never met before, thanks partially to our 5th line, the heretic, and its projection field. So we carry around this projection field that can make others view us as if our potential has already been realized. So we may sometimes find ourselves being seen as a savior or as the solution to somebody's problems, somehow being exactly what they are looking for. So authority is really important to 5-1s, because it's really common for 5-1s who fall out of alignment to enter into agreements with people that are completely based on someone misreading our projection field and then jumping into a yes before having checked to see if this agreement is actually aligned with us. So there's often hurt feelings, burned bridges, perhaps damaged reputations in the early lives of 5-1s. But we really have the ability to meet the expectations projected onto us. And that is thanks to this very handy, unconscious first line, which is known as the Investigator. So this is how we establish a foundation of knowledge and expertise in our field of study. So it's really good for 5-1s to spend a good amount of time alone, really diving into the exploration and the mastery of whatever it is they are passionate about learning, especially as it relates to business and work. And then we're able to rise up and earn the projections that people are placing onto us. And we're actually able to live our missions and make a difference in people's lives and make a difference on the planet. And I guess now we can go to your totally open sacral. I'm going to just talk about your open centers. And open centers are the places through which we absorb the most amount of conditioning energy. And I'm just going to touch on each of your open centers and just give my take on maybe how conditioning shows up or has shown up for you. So you have a totally open sacral. This is obviously the main motor in the human body. And the fact that you have this center totally open likely means that you have experienced at one point in your life some kind of projector burnout. Not having the center defined makes it so that you probably have had to learn how to have boundaries protecting your rest and relaxation, recovery, and made it so that you're probably addicted to being busy and productive at some point, because you don't have this motor that generates life force energy that 70% of the population does have defined. 70% of people have this powerful motor generating life force energy within them. But what is life force energy? It is doing energy. It's energy that leads to action. So the fact that you have the center totally open means that you take in everyone else's life force energy, their doing energy, completely unfiltered. You experience it in a purer way than most people who have it either defined or have some hanging gates on their open sacral to color what energy comes in. So you have more insight, more awareness available to observe the doing energy of others. You have a deeper insight into where people are moving from, what's guiding their actions. And the fact that their energy is coming into your auric field means that you are able to detect the conditioning that is operating within them. Conditioning that they likely picked up through their other open centers that is then influencing their actions. But this takes some effort and some practice, and it takes a lot of grounding to be able to absorb so much of other people's energy and not get rocked by it, to not allow it to stick and turn into your own conditioning. But this gives you the potential to really become an incredible guide, to have an incredible understanding of what it means to be a human, and potentially how to help people purify their energy fields so they can live as better versions of themselves. People with totally open sacrals can have actually a deeper access into meditative states and higher states of consciousness if you spend time alone just being, not on your phone, not reading, but just breathing and listening. And there's some other gates in your chart that really make me think that meditation and this practice of just basically chilling and breathing and listening within yourself, being present in your body, is part of your path and is a key part to you unlocking a good portion of the rest of your stored potential. Because in the absence of all this doing, this moving energy, you have extra awareness where there would be this coursing energy. You have space. So you can use your awareness to just be, to be present and to connect with the universal wisdom and allow it to speak to you. And the fact that you are a 5/1 self-projected projector with a totally open sacral really suggests to me that you are here to take this journey into understanding this process, what's driving people to do what they do, and to understand how they could show up for themselves in better ways. So at the top of your body graph, you also have a totally open head center. So this can manifest as not really knowing what to think about, who is worth listening to. You can feel pressure to solve problems that don't really matter. And also there can be a real element of distraction going down, wormholes on YouTube, on the internet, your cell phone. So once again, meditation can be just really helpful because a lot of the thoughts that show up in your head likely didn't originate from within you. You have kind of an open hatch into your consciousness. So it's going to be really helpful for you to understand how to observe your thoughts without believing them. Understand yourself to be the awareness that witnesses all the activity in your head, as opposed to the believing that you are the content or that you have to listen to the content of your thoughts. And you also have an open ajna center or mind center just below it. And this can manifest as wanting to know, wanting to be certain, wanting to show that you're certain. But you're really not here to be certain. You're here to make friends with uncertainty. You're really here to fall in love with all that is unknowable, with the mystery of it all. And so, once again, morning pages, meditation, morning pages to kind of just clear the gunk out and remind you to really value the space and the silence in between your thoughts, and meditation again to really tune your awareness and to make friends with silence. There are some gates and a channel that I'm going to get into later that really, I feel like I'm not trying to give a boring or annoying reading here, telling you to just like chill and be silent and follow a path of meditation. But there's just a lot in your chart that tells me that you're going to really blossom and level up if you are down to like really pursue a relationship with space, silence, and the best way to do that is through a meditation practice. And then you have a totally open solar plexus as well on the far right of your chart. So this can manifest a few different ways. It could make you incredibly sensitive to other people's emotional energy. It could also make you kind of closed off and resistant to human connection, because there's a lot of openness that can be pretty intense. Human emotion can be pretty intense to feel, especially unfiltered, the way that you would have the potential to feel it. So sometimes people can, early in life, sort of put little psychological barriers around themselves as a self-preservation method. But it's ultimately a huge gift for people, the people in your life, when you're able to get into alignment and figure out how to not identify with the emotions that you experience from others as your own, because it makes you incredible at holding space. You kind of relieve others of some of the emotional buildup within them, especially you having the gate of the listener. You just need to know how you're designed and what's actually happening inside you, so you don't become weighed down or negatively impacted by the energy that you're taking in. So grounding exercises and deep breathing can just be a really good way to keep you present and to prevent that emotional energy from traveling in through that solar plexus center, that emotional center, up into your mind and to start influencing your decision making. Also, salt baths. This is something that I was really skeptical about initially, but salt baths are a really great way to shed extra emotional energy. And since I know you, I'll also include hape as a great way to shed some of that extra emotional energy. And it's just another great clearing tool. And since your transferred or your shadow motivation is guilt, it can potentially be challenging to avoid getting pulled into guilt loops through experiencing the emotional energy of others so intensely. So it's just something to keep in mind. And, watch for a desire to avoid confrontation or withhold your truth. Because this likely is just conditioning from your open solar plexus. But I really feel like the more you bring presence into your life, the more you'll begin to embrace this sensitivity and start to value it as a gift, as opposed to something that you need to fear or hide from. Because there's massive healing and wisdom potential in an totally open solar plexus. And actually, I'm thinking about it now, and like some of my favorite people in my life have totally open solar plexus. So it's interesting that I somehow know so many of you. And then moving down on the right side, I guess no, we're moving up to the left. I'm bouncing all over the place. We got the little triangle. This is the ego, the heart center. And really the most important thing to remember about having an open ego or heart center is that you're not here to prove yourself. Even though that it's likely that society has conditioned you to believe that you do need to prove yourself. But really whatever you seek or wish to prove will come to you as soon as you drop completely the feeling that you have something to prove. Because an open ego asks you to accept yourself as you are. And by doing so, a space within you is created for your gifts to activate and your dreams to manifest. They just won't manifest if they're being called in as a way to compensate for a feeling of unworthiness or lack. Also being very mindful of commitments and promises that you make to other people, because there can be a tendency to overcommit to people if you have an open ego. So just really check with your authority to before committing to anything real big. And you have an open spleen. It's a fairly open spleen, but your personality gate is the one gate in your spleen. So this is a pretty interesting configuration. But just there could be a tendency with an open spleen to keep things around that don't serve you. So this can be relationships, friendships, habits, jobs, foods. So I always just recommend maybe taking an inventory and seeing if there's anything that it is perhaps time to let go of. There also may be a chance of you being empathic to the health and well-being of others, to actually absorb somebody's poor health, lack of well-being even, and think that it's your own. You can actually even start to feel the lack of well-being in the collective. and start to think that it's your own. So just be really mindful, I guess, of who you're surrounding yourself with and what energies you are going to be taking in. So if there's someone in your life that's super depressed or super ill, you can be there for them, but you just really need to make sure you give yourself some boundaries. I'd also recommend salt baths after spending time around somebody who's just at a low vibration or is suffering from an illness. But really, the more you get into alignment, you kind of just learn to spot all these tendencies, and you have the potential for incredible wisdom and intuition, especially as it pertains to other people. And once you learn to not identify their energies as your own, it really frees you up to be able to guide them into health and actualization. And because a lot of professional healers have open spleens, and so having such an open spleen could potentially make you a pretty incredible healer of some kind, because you may be able to learn to intuit exactly what's going on with someone's health or well-being, where their energy is blocked and what they need to do to clear it. You have the potential to do this in a deeper way than most. So if the healing arts are in some way calling you, I would just encourage you to keep yourself open and just follow the signs if life is trying to point you in that direction. And you have an undefined root center, but you have 6 of the 8 possible gates in your root. So this is also an interesting configuration. The root center is a pressure center, and when you have gates in a pressure center that is undefined, it's a bit easier for the lower vibration of these gates to manifest. So you may feel a pressure to correct yourself, to be more perfect or correct others. A pressure to find or fight for a purpose in life. A pressure to really transform and evolve and actualize. A pressure to overcome limitation, a desire for new experiences. But ultimately, you don't have the energy within your own body, because the root is a motor. You don't have the energy within your own body to be consistent in how you respond to this pressure. So there's a chance that a lot of your mental conditioning is actually coming from these gates in your root. So the most important thing that you need to remember is to ground yourself and to breathe, and to know that most of the stress and pressure you feel has actually come from sources outside of yourself. And then by being present in your body, not in your head, and really following your strategy and authority, the energies in these gates will elevate, and you'll notice yourself being moved to evolve in the direction that these gates are pointing to, from a place of acceptance for yourself and an acceptance of where you are, and not out of a conditioning force that is pressuring you and motivating you from a place of lack or fear. I hope that made sense. And now I'm going to just get into your gates and channels. And you said you knew your channels, but I'm just going to give you my take on them and just some context. Gates are positions in the sky. So classic astrology breaks the sky into 12 different pieces, which we know as the signs of the zodiac, right? Human Design breaks the sky into 64 pieces, which are known as the gates. And depending on the planetary activity present the moment each one of us is born, and then 3 months prior when we're designed, we each get encoded with certain energies and lessons and gifts contained within these gates. And each gate correlates to one of the 9 energy centers in the body. And when 2 different centers directly opposite each other are both activated, they can form a channel. And then this gives those centers connected by this channel definition, which means there's a consistent flow of energy emanating from these centers. So your first channel is the channel of the Alpha, connecting gate 7, the gate of the Army in your G center, to gate 31, the gate of it's called a few different things. It can sometimes called the gate of influence, or the gate of verbal leading in your throat. But this comprises the channel of the Alpha. And this is a channel of leadership, for good or bad, as they say. At the lower expression of this channel, there may be a desire for control, sort of unchecked alpha male energy that's ego-based and not really rooted in a desire to serve. It might be rooted in a desire for power or attention. Or since it's made up of design gates, unconscious gates, there may be a reluctance to lead. Like, it may not even feel like I'm talking about your chart when describing this channel. This channel suggests, though, that you are here to lead, to have influence in some way, especially since you're a 5-1. And it's going to be in a way that has the well-being of the collective in mind. It's a projected channel, so it does require the recognition of the tribe and an invitation to lead. You're going to meet resistance if you try to force your way into a leadership position from a place of dominance or need for attention or control, but you clearly have the makings of a leader. This channel gives you logical insights into what is and what isn't working, and allows you to use this gift to prepare the tribe for the future. So this gate is about riding the waves of change, really being flexible and always tuning into the changing needs of the tribe so that you can best serve the collective. And really, there's humility in this channel. Like I said earlier, this is sometimes the reluctant leader, one who leads because, he or she understands that they're just the right person for the job, not because they've always dreamed of power and influence. Some people serve by following, by throwing their support behind the right person and executing their vision. But you, it would appear, will serve by leading in some capacity and using your insight to guide others into their own unique roles of service. It's a really powerful and beautiful channel when used in the right way. And especially for you, it's going to really develop and pop off when you've been fully committed to living your strategy and authority for some time. And really, there's a lot in your chart that makes me feel like you are an empowerer, one who empowers, the kind of leader that leads by helping others realize their own potential and evolve past the limitations their conditioning has placed on them. Your unconscious south node is actually in gate 31 in Leo. So some of its lower vibrational expressions may show up for you. So this can look like, self-importance, a desire for attention, caring what people think. It's basically energy pointed towards yourself. Really, at its lower expression, gate 31 could be called the gate of conditioning. But at its higher expression, it allows you to see past this tendency, and it moves you towards helping others break out of their own conditioning, as you have figured out how to do. The energy starts pointing outwards. And gate 31 also gives you a knack for reaching people through art and marketing. So it really looks like you are stepping into alignment. And then gate 7 is where the sun was when you were designed 3 months prior to your birth. And this position has a lot to do with your evolution. And once again, it often starts in fear, in me energy, and then blossoms into a call to serve, to remind people of the power they have, and to help prepare them for what lies ahead. So it's kind of exciting to see all of this empowering energy in your chart, because it really appears that you are right on track, because this is what the projector movement is all about. So it's exciting.
So there you have it, an advanced human design reading. Now that was about 60% of the reading, and it goes further into more advanced aspects and specifically quite in depth into the variables as well. So if you're interested in a human design reading yourself, whether you're a projector, generator, manifesting generator, manifestor, reflector, click the link below and you can get a personalized human design advanced reading for yourself. If you can see in the background, LA City is actually there. I'm on the coast here in California. There's quite a lot of surfers down there, and I've just come here for some projector time and for some relaxing time. And at the same time, I just wanted to share about the advanced human design reading offer that we have. So if that interests you, click the link below. I'm really excited to offer this to people because it has the ability to open up a life path that maybe you didn't see, or for you to feel recognized in a way that maybe you haven't been recognized. And it really is like a life's manual for you at this time. So if you feel called, link is below. Have an incredible, incredible journey, and bye for now.